Hi, this is Doug Moench, and you're listening to Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast.
Yes, welcome back, loony listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast, and this is episode 225. You're with your High Priest of Khonshu Rey. Salutations, and joining me, returning in the bunker, is Justin The Owl Osgood. Justin, welcome back.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you, Loonies, for listening as always.
Excellent. I didn't have our fictitious setting or place of discussion worked out, Justin, hence the bunker, but that works. Yeah. Why not?
we could be a bunker on Island Strange or
yes.
something. Yeah.
That actually works. That's even better. Yeah, that is. We are on Island Strange in a bunker. And loony listeners, it is a waning crescent, so that means this is a LUNAR-PICK classic run review tonight. And we'll be looking at Moon Knight, Volume 1, Issue 19, Assault on Island Strange. Now, before any of that, of course, a big thank you to our sponsors. A big thank you to the likes of Justin. Our gracious patronies are listed as co-producers and executive producers on each of the shows. So, a big thanks to Daniel, Justin, Derek, Kyle, Wayne, Jordan, Josh, James, Russell, and Anthony. Also, Fringe Knight by Daniel, doing an original indie comic based on Erie, Pennsylvania's very own mysterious superhero. Go check it out, I urge you. Daniel Doing, he's a great creator, all-round nice loony. Go hit him up for those back issues. As well as Hello Headphones, empowering gamers to play at their best, and Dreamland Comics, the superhero superstore. Further details for discounts to come towards the end of the show. Now, Justin, we are here to review a classic run. Released in May 1982. This was Moon Knight, Volume 1, Issue 19, and we have a stellar creative team here. Of course, writer Doug Moench, penciler Bill Sienkiewicz, inker Steve Mitchell. Interesting to get your thoughts on this, when Bill doesn't ink his own, Justin. Colorist Christie, Scheele, letterer John Morelli, and editors the great Denny O'Neil and Ralph Macchio. Now you can you can read a copy of this via floppy or a digital. So Comixology or Marvel Comics will have it. Marvel Unlimited, it should be on there as well. As well as I'm reading it from a trade, the Epic Collection Volume 2, Shadows of the Moon, page 300.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, page 353. Justin, how are you going to read yours?
I've got the original floppy going here.
Yes, awesome. You've got the old school OG.
It has an ad Cracker Jack in the inside cover.
I was about to say, is it how's the condition of it, Justin? I do know that you like to read them thoroughly.
This one is in good shape.
Cool.
I've taken good care. I take good care of all my Moon Knight ones. It's everything else that gets beat up quite a bit.
Look, but there's no shame in having a rough go at your comics. I don't mind it. I love the idea of just not being too precious. For certain ones, like certain ones that you want to be. Yeah. Awesome. At least you've got the ads there to keep you entertained as well.
And there's a funny letter too that I want to remark about in the back. Somebody wrote a letter with a really funny little comment that I wanted to mention later on.
Oh, please do. We'll get to that. After towards the end or whenever. It'll be good. Now, listeners that don't or are unfamiliar with the format, what will happen is Justin will read out a bare bones or a synopsis to give you a roundabout knowledge of the issue that we're about to discuss. And that will be courtesy of Wiki. And then Justin and I will just talk about different aspects. I mean, we'll just freestyle it, writing art, themes, characterizations, and potential references to other runs. And we'll cap it off with a moon rating. Justin, may I ask which moon rating system you will use tonight?
I think I'm going to use the Khonshu rating.
Excellent. Everyone does because it's so good. So we have two rating systems, Loonies, the vanilla rating and the Khonshu's rating system. Don't worry, just bear with us. You'll figure it out when we rate this thing. Yes, all will be revealed, much like Nimrod Strange as Arsenal.
Yes. Exactly.
All right, well, let's kick it off. Justin, would you be so kind as to read the bare bones for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. With his Mossad allies having decoded Ben Abramov's hidden message, Moon Knight takes the fight to the Third World Slayer's secret base. Marc, Marlene, and Frenchie impersonate revolutionaries to infiltrate the compound, with Marlene quickly being recruited as one of Strange's personal bodyguards. He always surrounds himself with three beautiful women, representing the European, African, and Asian races that make up his organization, and he has just become dissatisfied with Sheena, the previous woman in the white slot. Jealous, Sheena attempts to dig up dirt on the new recruit. With the loss of the Slayer's elite, Nimrod Strange adopts their weaponry, and that of the Master Sniper, into a personal battlesuit and dubs himself Arsenal. Sheena figures out the three imposters, but Marlene takes her out before she can report to Strange. Moon Knight and Frenchie are drawn out into the open while sabotaging the base. Arsenal gets the better of Moon Knight and escapes with Marlene, but Moon Knight now knows where they're headed, to Manhattan, to launch a massive terrorist attack.
Yes, so the adventure does not end at the end of this issue with that Third World organization. What's it called? It's not called Wiki said the Third World Slayers. They're not
Slayers Elite. Yeah.
The Slayers Elite were the assassins. The
Slayers Elite.
It's called what is it called? The Third World Army.
Third World, yeah.
Yeah.
Third World Army.
Yeah. So no, thank you so much for that, Justin. That was actually surprisingly a good wiki entry. So that was really. I had to snicker at there when you said the previous woman in the white slot.
I know, yeah.
But overall, Justin, what did you make of this issue before we get into the details?
I really liked this one, actually, compared to the previous two issues, which kind of set up the storyline. I thought this was much better comparatively, both in the terms of the art and the storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to agree with you. I think from the previous appearances of the Third World Army and Nimrod Strange, I think I enjoyed this the most. But we'll get into why and the ins and outs. I guess now. I mean, Justin, do you want to kick off on one of your big points?
Sure, yeah. With the writing, I loved in the very first page, we get a great piece of dialogue where Moon Knight's kind of flying out at the soldiers, and one of them says, "A ghost flying on the night wind." I just love that. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
Because these guys over in Lebanon would have no idea about who Moon Knight is, would have no clue about Moon Knight or anything to do with a vigilante from New York City. So to see him flying out of like that, I'm sure probably scared the hell out of them. It was great.
Yeah, I love I think we talked about this before, Justin, and incidentally, you mentioned you were on the Master Snipers issue 17, right? Discussion that we had. Yeah. Really cool.
Yeah.
But I love this international flavour with Moon Knight, and I love what Moench has done. So writing-wise, I love it how he set Moon Knight as an international superhero, regardless of whether people recognise him or not. He's just this this guy that dresses up in a suit and he just pops up. But yeah, I love the fact that they're in Lebanon. I mean, how many stories can you say?
Oh, I know.
Set in Lebanon, right? And it's a great opener as well. It starts off with the action, but they're kind of collecting potential followers for the Third World Army. But it kicks off with some action straight away. And Moon Knight, like, what I found really funny, he uses the good old-fashioned tripwire technique.
Tripwire, yes.
Yeah, and I just had to laugh. There was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys tripped over it. Like, they must have been running very closely together. or it's too dark and one of them tripped and then the other guy tripped and then the other... But it was a little comical.
Right, they all tripped over each other. Yeah.
Yeah. But some really good action here. Again, I've got to hand it to Bill Sienkiewicz as well. You do get a sense of what Moon Knight's doing. There's a one shot of this guy. Moon Knight kicks him at the back of the head, and his head just goes straight into the ground.
Yes, and there's that great sound effect, sculpt.
Yeah.
When he kicks him, sculpt. His face goes right into the ground. Yeah.
So really good, and I'm always proud to see, like, at the bottom of that page, Moon Knight with like 5 or 6 guys at his feet. I mean, this is a guy without superpowers. He can just beat 6 of them without any problems.
Yeah, so, single-handed.
But also, I want to call out, Justin, as well. You've got it. I see it in your notes as well. It's one of the rare instances we see another identity of Marc in that of Yitzhak Topol.
New identity. Well, not identity. I should say more like an alter ego or a disguise.
Well, there's... True, it is a disguise, and I guess at this point in time, they really hadn't sussed out what's the go with Marc's identities as well. I mean, even here, I'm just looking here, Marc, he gets a little angry. Oh, yes, don't call me Marc or Stephen. Remember, I've got a new ID for the duration. So he's either a really good method actor, like he doesn't, like, don't call me those names, or also as well, it implies that Marc and Stephen aren't identities or alters, so to speak. Like, if we're going to get into DID, it looks like they're just roles. That's what I'm assuming, but I don't know.
And this was in the early days, I think, before they had kind of delved into those waters about the DID with the different identities. I think, this was a bit before they started touching on that.
Look, I think, someone asked me in another podcast that I guested on. It was the I'll give them a shout out now, the Werewolf by Night podcast, and they asked me. They said, Ray, they said, how long ago, how long has he had DID, Moon Knight? And I was tracking in my mind, Justin, and for the life of me, I could only pinpoint it to around the Houston run, 2006. It's that late that we actually get Moon Knight with DID. There's talk. It's very loose in the Moench run. Like over here, as mentioned, it implies that he might be using him as roles. Marlene says a couple of times, "Oh, you're schizo or something like that." Really, obviously not very appropriate these days. So it really hadn't formulated. Marc Spector Moon Knight. There's no mention of any mental issues.
It's completely...
And then I'm thinking after that, there was 1998, there was Resurrection War and High Strangers that had no real talk about DID. So it's not until, I think, 2006 that we see DID. I think
you're right.
But, so Yitzhak Topol, interesting. I just found it interesting to see another, what do you call it? Another, I don't want to even say identity now, but just another role that Marc plays.
Another, a former Libyan double agent stationed in Jerusalem was his cover story.
And just well-placed moustache and glasses, and there you go.
Oh, it works for Superman, so, you know.
Well, I was about to say, almost like Groucho Marx. like, yeah.
that must have.
Yeah, a bit dodgy, but no, but really cool. I just love this the setting that Moench has created with this. It's for me, I put it akin to, like, there are not many stories, I believe, around this time that Marvel are doing that are similar to what Moench is doing. I could only cite potentially the Nam, in the fact that it's a very grounded in reality, or Masters of Kung Fu, which Moench also wrote, which was very espionage.
True.
This is so cool because it's like they're going on a mission. It's not like your typical superhero story. It's like they're actually, there's an operation, you know?
It's almost like a James Bond story, too, in the fact that there's this crazy, you know, would-be fascist world dictator, this narcissistic sociopath, and he's got this network of, and all this money that he suddenly has out of nowhere. I'm always astounded how these supervillains get all their money. Like, how did Nimrod Strange get all this money to have this island and all this stuff? But
blood money, Justin. Blood money.
Well, yeah, that's probably. But it seemed like, in a lot of ways, like a James Bond story. Like they were infiltrating this island and, like, you know, doing all this covert stuff. So, definitely. I don't think there were many Marvel books that were doing that back then. You're right. Yeah.
I loved it. I love this kind of infiltrating thing. This is like something that you don't see or expect in a superhero comic. I mean, I was thinking about it like any other superhero. You know, I don't want to, you know, cast bad thoughts of them or anything, but, like, you know, the likes of, say, Captain America, they'd storm in and, you know, they'd just fight straight out. Whereas this was a little bit more covert. And it was very calculated. They had a plan. He has a team in Frenchie and Marlene as well. And you mentioned as well, Justin, Marlene, she really shines in this issue.
And she does. This is a great kind of showcase for some of her abilities. Especially during the fight with Sheena. She really... Yeah,
which is, I found really great. That was one of the highlights for me as well. Just, again, seeing how capable Marlene is. Because let's not forget, she gets her training from Marc and potentially Frenchie. I mean, both of these guys are mercs, ex-mercs. So she's had the highest form of training. Yeah. But she has almost an arrogance to her as well. Like, she calls it out to Nimrod Strange, like, I'm ready. I'm already trained. You don't need to train me up to be your bodyguard. I can handle it. And that kind of puts her in that position to fight. It's not Sheena at that instance, isn't it? It's the...
Oh, no, yeah, you're right. It's Yumi.
Yeah. And she does good work with it. But she does fight Sheena as well later on, a little bit.
She does, yeah.
It's very, I also had to chuckle here, Justin. Very coincidental that Sheena, the white one, was falling out with Strange and looked so similar to Marlene. You know what I mean?
Yeah, blonde, blue-eyed, and everything.
yeah. I mean, it would be
a strange coincidence.
Exactly. Yeah. It would be a different story if Yumi was the one falling out with Strange, and, you know, God forbid Strange can have two European bodyguards.
Oh, I think that would mess up his OCD really badly. Yeah.
But Marlene's. Okay, I'm just bouncing. I'm looking a little bit on mine and a little bit on your notes as well here, Justin, as well. Yeah, her dialogue, everything about her in this issue was, I think, really good. I think she really had a strong role in this issue.
Yeah, you get a taste of what she can do when she's left on her own. When Marc trusts her to kind of go undercover.
Yep.
And knows that she's not going to screw it up or make a mistake. Because there were some times in the past, in the beginning, where she kind of stumbled into the middle of it and maybe tripped over stuff a little bit, but that's to be expected.
Yeah, I mean, but over here, I mean, that's a great point that you raised, Justin, because we see towards the end of this, she sticks to the plan. Like, there's a point where it's almost as if Moon Knight is in dire need of help, but she doesn't want to blow her cover because this is all part of the plan. So I like that discipline that she has.
Yes,
could have almost come undone because that grenade goes off, and Moon Knight's kind of left in the rubble. But full credit to Marlene. She does well. Her fighting prowess and her abilities to, I guess, act. She has to, the sacrifices she has to make. Let's talk about that initiation, Justin, that Nimrod Strange has for all his new bodyguards. I mean, I think
the Bill Cosby initiation.
Oh, the Bill. I think Frenchie puts it or something. Frenchie and Marc saying, "Oh, we all know what that initiation means, don't we?" I mean, can't get any more sleazy than that. But I think also, so Marlene, she's done really well. Let's talk about Nimrod Strange. Now, before I forget, we must speak of the cover, Justin. So we're getting the introduction of Arsenal, with the emphasis on arse. What do you make of this cover?
I don't like it. Yikes!
It's memorable.
It's just it's definitely memorable. But when I first saw this, I was like, wow, that's. Yeah. If I was looking at this in 1982, I might have walked past this and not picked this up.
Yeah,
I don't know. I felt like they should have shown like a scene from the forest, like that opening fight.
Oh,
when Moon Knight was fighting those soldiers in the middle of the night. They should have shown like a great Bill Sienkiewicz cover of that. Would have been perfect compared to this.
I know. It's a bit of as I said, it is memorable. The yellow on the red, I think, really sticks out. And it's fun to have Moon Knight there. I mean, he's drawn pretty much well by Sienkiewicz. The only thing I really have against this is really the design of Arsenal. I think it's pretty cheesy. And that's nothing to say against, I mean, if we look at the artwork, in general, there's some really great stuff. Like at the beginning, I think it's almost a second, third page or something. It's when Moon Knight throws that crescent dart, and there's a really cool sequence of panels. Yeah, where you see his crescent dart kind of loop in the air, and it goes past the moon, the real moon. Really cool, fun stuff, like little things like that. I love from Bill Sienkiewicz. Now, I don't know if he is totally responsible for the design of Arsenal, but I think it really falls flat. I'm assuming Moench said, okay, I'm going to introduce this character, Arsenal. He's going to be basically a conglomeration of the Slayer's Elite and Master Sniper. He's going to have all the works in him. Go design it. And I think maybe Bill designed it. I could be wrong. But it really is terrible. I mean, it
is. It's the big clunky blue boots.
Yeah.
It's the helmet. It's the A going across the chest.
Terrible.
It's angular. It's just a mess. It's a mess of a costume. Yeah.
There's something also, I think, a little juvenile on the front cover in having to notate Arsenal's thing and saying, look, this is the high-intensity headlamp. This is the protective helmet. This is the grenade. I don't know.
Yeah. Really? That's an nunchaku? Oh, well, I'm glad that you cleared that up for me. I wouldn't have known that otherwise.
Well, I've got
a concealed garrote? Well, I guess it's not concealed anymore. We all know it's in there now.
But, I mean, it's just laughable. There's even... I mean, I'm laughing at this high-intensity headlamp. I'm thinking maybe...
I know. Yeah.
The protective helmet must have been influenced from Darth Vader, and maybe Bill said, wow, Darth Vader's pulled it off, maybe I can pull it off with Arsenal. But it doesn't work. Anyway, I wanted to talk about, so that cover, but I wanted to talk about Arsenal in general. I mean, maybe we've covered it all now, Justin, but what did you think of Arsenal and his time in the sun by showcasing his abilities?
Well, I thought that his weaponry, like his actual literal arsenal, is fine. It's just the visual presentation is pretty poor. Yeah, it's one of the worst costumes I think I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
The character's good, though. I mean, I think he's a good villain, especially a great villain for Moon Knight. You know, this terrorist leader.
Yeah.
With an organization of assassins and terrorists, I think is a great choice of a nemesis for Moon Knight, and I thought he was great for the story too. Mm-hmm. Just the costume was junk. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand what Moench was doing. Like Nimrod Strange is consolidating all the abilities his finest assassins have had, and he's put it all into one. But I just don't think it works. I mean, unless those assassins like Master Sniper and the Slayer's Elite, unless they were really decked out and over the top, then you can probably, I don't know, I think you can have like some sort of tech armor or something, but to just take on their weapons, I mean, he's even missing those fantastic acid-filled icicles. Remember that other Slayer's Elite had?
Yeah, the acid.
Acid glass shards or something.
Yes,
thank God. Thank God he didn't have them, because, you know, that's just, you might as well just hand yourself in right there with those things hanging off you. But
absolutely.
I couldn't help but look at the grenades on his belt. I'm going, buddy, you're setting yourself up for a loss here as well. Like, jeez. Like, why not just strap, gunpowder around you? Like, why don't you just take a dip in a barrel of gunpowder and just walk around? It's like
Anybody got a match? Yeah, I know.
Exactly. But, I can see the purpose of what Moench was trying to do. And again, a little quick showcase. Look, I've got the wrist blaster of Master Sniper. I've got the nunchucks of Chu Lin, and I've got Jujuba's guns and all that. So, and then he disposes of a tank with a grenade. Is that
yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
That might be possible, but I don't. So, unless it's a really powerful grenade.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe he's got access to things we don't know about.
Possibly, but it would have been good to, and maybe, look, if ever I am to critique Doug Moench, maybe this is where it is, Doug Moench is very good at doing grounded stuff, and maybe, he couldn't conjure up something really fantastic, or maybe he did want to keep it grounded, but I'm just thinking in this day and age where you have Iron Man with his repulsor rays and all this tech, Arsenal with all these old day weapons aren't going to cut it. Like, he's got a garrote, he's got a grenade, and he's got like a gun.
Nunchucks.
And nunchucks. Is that really going to strike fear into the world? Like, when he goes up against the Avengers, is that really going to stack it? I don't think so. So,
no.
Yes, I think that's a little bit of a shortcoming. Whether or not Doug Moench wanted to keep him grounded, I don't know. But he doesn't come across as being as formidable as I think he should be. Yeah.
Yeah, there was another villain called Arsenal that came about in Marc Spector Moon Knight, and I thought his design was a lot better than this.
Yes, I agree. Had some 90s tinges. Sorry?
A little bit of 90s stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Compared to this, though, I thought it was better.
Yeah, this was funny. So we have Arsenal as well. The introduction. This is the introduction to a new big bad, I guess so. If you've got your copy of issue 19, bag and board it. It's going to skyrocket, baby. Especially if you do get Arsenal in the Moon Knight TV show, which would be hilarious.
That would be great, yeah.
Well, maybe just as Nimrod Strange. I mean, that would be really good. Yeah. But one of the other, I guess, looking at the other parts of the plot, which was interesting, was this thing about Marlene taking over Sheena's role, and Sheena being suspicious of the trio, and her little subplot of trying to, I guess, expose them. I thought that was done pretty well.
That was cool. Yeah, I like that.
So she basically,
it would have been easy just to throw that little subplot away and not do anything with it. It was cool how he worked that back in. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, look, Moon Knight and Frenchie were going to get exposed, right? Because what they did at the end, they blew up everything, pretty much. So they were always going to have people coming at them. But I think Sheena really wanted to expose Marlene. And what I found interesting, though, was that Marlene actually nips it in the bud, and she doesn't. She doesn't get to expose Marlene. Marlene does away with it with a series of short punches to the back.
She takes her. She really puts the boots to Sheena. She karate chops her right in the throat. Yeah. And then she kicks her in the back, and then she beats on her just with her fists.
She does.
Mercilessly until this woman is down.
Yeah.
I thought, wow. And,
Sheena.
And then you see Nimrod, what took you so long?
Yeah, exactly. Well, a testament to Marlene, how quickly she dispatched of Sheena. I mean, considering that Sheena was meant to be part of Nimrod's bodyguards, I mean, she beat her hands down.
Without really much of an effort.
No. So I guess Nimrod was right in getting rid of Sheena. She's dropping the ball on that one. But she does expose, like she does, I like her little investigative subplot there. She goes, checks the roster, and what we see is that she counts 33 people there, but there's only 30 people accounted on the roster. Yeah. It's all very systematic, but Sheena, she's done the numbers. She knows what's happening, so that was good. I thought that was interesting.
That was really good.
Now, obviously, of course, if just going to references, Justin, this does refer to the previous two issues. It seemed like ages, forever, that we actually read them, but we are dictated by the phases of the moon. But issues 17 and 18, and they all kind of work together, don't they?
Yeah, it's one conjoining story, yeah. And I think it did start at 17 with the assassination of Ben Abramov by the Master Sniper. Yeah.
So this is actually, I know it's pretty bloody obvious, but I never realised that there was a nice little tight, well, it hasn't even finished yet, arc, consecutive arc. I always imagined that this Nimrod Strange, he kind of flitted in and out of like issues. Oh. But yeah, I didn't realise that was all consecutive, so that's really cool.
Yeah, it reads really well too. It reads well as a consecutive story.
Oh, okay. I'm going to have to. I want to read them all consecutive now as well to see how it all kind of pans out. Any other points you want to pull out on the art or the writing?
The art, I will say that Steve Mitchell, I was really impressed with the inks on throughout this issue. I know that I complained a little bit about his inks in issue 17 with the Master Sniper. There were some panels that found out kind of off, but in this issue, he's doing a great job with all of his inks. There's a lot of great use of shadow, a lot of atmospheric stuff.
There's some really good close-ups. Sorry.
Yeah, good close-ups of Marlene looking at, and I loved. There's a panel where Nimrod Strange basically has Marlene all to himself, and he picks her up. Oh yeah, and she can't even disguise the disgust on her face when he's leering at her.
Yeah. I wanted.
It's right before he kisses her.
Yeah. I wanted to point that out as well. I mean, I guess Steve and Bill Sienkiewicz, just great facial expressions. I mean, that one totally. When she's kind of looking at him. There's another one. It's I guess not so much facial expressions, more like a bodily expression. There's this bit where towards the beginning where Marlene is pushed along, like to go with the other bodyguards, and I don't know. I just think it's really well done, like just to show that kind of awkwardness, but at the same time being shoved along. Just those little things that really work.
Yeah, I like that too, definitely. I know which panel you mean. Yeah, that was a great part. And I love too, there was a scene, I have two panels I thought were the best. There's one where Moon Knight's confronting Arsenal right at the end, and he goes, you killed my oldest friend among other things you've done to me and mine. I'm here to avenge those things. I love that panel. He looks so good in that one. Well, and then on the next page, the panel with the explosion, I thought was also really striking.
Very minimal, but just very effective. And The colours there, I mean, very simple. Just the reds and yellows work really well. I just wanted to make comment there, Justin, on what you were mentioning, that panel with Moon Knight. It's not often with, well, in this issue at least, that you see Moon Knight's mask as white. So I think it's really effective to show his anger there. Rather than just have the two eyes in black, you've got a bit more texture around the face. So that was really good.
That's true. Yeah, really good use of shadow there. And it makes him look really kind of imposing and menacing. Yeah.
Now, also, I wanted to raise the point with this story that, you know, we were mentioning how it was a really good kind of mission or operation, you know, but also at the heart of it as well. And actually that panel that you just pointed out does highlight the fact that it's also personal for Moon Knight. His best friend, we shouldn't forget, Abramov was, not his best friend, but his friend. Abramov was slain. So Moon Knight has this, I guess this motive, and added to the fact where he sees poor Marlene getting manhandled by Nimrod Strange, pushes him to force the plan a bit earlier than they intended. So I guess that's why you do get them being caught out. But it's really good. It works on both of those layers, that you get this really nice, calculated, planned out operation. But also it's a little bit of Moon Knight wanting to pay back Nimrod Strange. And that is called back at the beginning as well, where I think one of those guys on the boat was saying that I hope he's not too close to Abramov. And I always wondered what that kind of meant. Like that didn't really make sense until you get a reaffirmation that Moon Knight is a little bit emotional with this. You know, he's a little bit pissed off at Nimrod Strange. Yeah. And I guess I was saying, let's just hope his emotions don't get the better of him.
Yeah, and his rage takes over. Yeah. Well, plus too the fact that Ben was gunned down in his house, like shot right in front of him in his house. I mean, yeah, that's
exactly
pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it's personal. Yeah.
Yeah. I found, I mean, like you're mentioning in your notes here, Justin, about the fighting. I just found it really, really great. It's just very grassroots. A lot of explosions, a lot of bullets flying. Obviously, understandably, no superpowers, and Arsenal's not, you know, he's not shooting death rays and stuff. It's all pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just using his basic weaponry. Yeah. He didn't get his nunchucks out. He didn't get an opportunity to use those, but maybe that will be in the next issue.
Oh, potentially, or the garottes. You never know.
True.
And also, I guess just the final thing I wanted to raise was Frenchie. I found it was a little go Frenchie there. He just mowing down people with a machine gun. Just you know, a little desensitized to death. When it's empty of bullets, he just throws the machine gun. Yeah, he does. I found that hilarious. And he gets a guy. He got one other guy, so that's good. Managed to clock the guy. I do find it cool. I'm just going to go a little bit. What I found really, I was expecting, actually, because I haven't read these in a long time, I was actually expecting this to be wrapped up here, but I was genuinely surprised when Nimrod Strange escapes yet again. All kind of building up to, I guess, a final confrontation.
Yeah. Manhattan. Yeah.
Manhattan, yeah. I'm just looking a bit more in the my Epic collection, and I do see the blue boots and the orange suits later on in some pages to come. So, issue 20 I'm assuming wraps everything up.
Yes.
It does?
It does.
Yeah.
Conclusion.
Okay, well, now that's... Justin, I'm going to have you back for the final... The finale for that one, for sure.
Oh, yeah. That'd be fun.
In contrast, I think that cover is brilliant. I like that cover.
Yes, that's one of the best covers, actually. It's a definite one of the best, yeah.
And it uses the same colours, yellow and red, so that's pretty cool. Any other final thoughts here, Justin? Because I'm mindful that we do have actually a bit of feedback I want to get through.
Oh yeah, just that little excerpt from the letter in the back.
Oh yes, yes.
Somebody called Tracy Leroy Birdvine, who wrote a letter, and this is almost 40 years ago. So Tracy, if you're listening, I'm reading an excerpt of your letter from 40 years ago. Basically, I'm just going to read this one little bit about. Now, for Bill Sienkiewicz. Sienkiewicz, I would probably darken Marvel's doorstep packing a 250 infracaliber heavy assault laser bazooka if your replacement on this book was ever announced.
Oh, wow.
Wow, there's a fan of Bill right there.
A big fan. Wow, geez. The threat has been laid down. That's awesome.
I wonder how Tracy felt when that actually did happen.
Yeah, I mean, Bill got a good run, and time. Yeah, time has told that it's a classic run. So Tracy, your tastes are refined and perfect. But yeah, interesting. Yeah. Tracy, if you're listening, let us know what you thought 40 years ago when it was changed.
Bit of a time capsule there.
Yeah. I wonder what Tracy's doing now. Anyway,
Maybe
Justin,
they're listening.
Sorry,
maybe they're listening right now.
Yeah, I hope so. Tracy, please write in if you are.
That'd be tickled. I'd be tickled if they were.
Okay, well, shall we go to ratings then? Justin,
yes.
I'll give you the floor for the first rating. So any closing statements for this issue, what you thought of it, and your rating, please, from the Khonshu's rating system.
Well, my rating is a little bit slightly higher than I originally anticipated. I was really just going to give this an 8, but I bumped it up to an 8.5 because I felt like this was a good showcase, not only for Marlene, and I loved seeing what she did, but I also loved seeing how it was kind of a good showcase for a lot of Marc's other abilities. We get to see him do this great jungle fighting in the beginning, and this great covert stuff where he's got a disguise on, and just kind of stuff that we don't really get to see him do a whole lot when he's back in the city, back in New York. He's doing this globe-trotting adventure. And I thought, because of the uniqueness of this story, I thought that deserved to bump it up a little bit. I love the art as well.
Yes. Oh, the art is always strong. So Justin's 8.5 there. We're calling that in between the big, beautiful yellow man and a full moon, Justin, I believe.
Yeah.
Very good. Look, similar to you, I did start a little lower. I was going to give this a 7.5, but I've got to say that I really did enjoy. I can't say it enough. I really did enjoy it. It was such a good read. And sometimes the older runs can be dated and can trip up from a lot of the things from back in the day that have changed since today. Look, there are a lot of still dated stuff within this story as well, but it was just exactly what you're saying, Justin. The fact that we get a globe-trotting Moon Knight, we get more than enough action there, which is really cool. We get to see more of Frenchie and Marlene, which I think is always important. So I loved seeing that as well. And, if this is part 3 of a 4-part arc, this ticks the box. This really does ramp it up from the previous 2 issues, and we're left with the finale at the end. But generally, I think part 3s, and generally do make the big statements out of, out of a series if it's a 4-parter, and we certainly get that as well. Added to the fact that this, as I mentioned, is both a mission but also has there's a personal vendetta there from Marc, works well, and to see Yitzhak Topol, I think is cool. Just another identity that he uses, another role. So I'll give it an 8. I'll give it a waxing gibbous. I really did enjoy this. It's a fantastic read. It actually reminded me of how good this Moench run is or can be. Absolutely enjoyed it.
Great.
All right, well, listeners, we're going to take a quick, short break. And Justin, we've just got some feedback to wrap up the show before we call it a day on Island Strange.
All right, it sounds good.
All right, Listeners, we'll be back after a couple of these messages. See you soon.
Tell me his name again.
Thanos.
I think I shall call him Adam.
But return to me again empty-handed, and I will bathe the Starways in your blood.
Thanks, Dad. Sounds fair.
Korvac's power grows, as does his madness. He would have destroyed us all, had I not pulled us into the Soul Gem.
Then Thanos, I'm coming for you.
After Xandar, you were going to kill my father?
You dared to oppose me.
You see what he has turned me into. You kill him, I will help you destroy 1,000 planets.
It's all right, Adam. We're here to help. Just stay cool. I don't want to be here!
Resurrections, an Adam Warlock and Thanos podcast. 5 years and going strong. Every other week. Mostly. For all of your Adam Warlock, Thanos, or Marvel Cosmic needs. Find it on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, Spotify, and wherever else podcasts are available. ResurrectionsAdamWarlock.tumblr.com.
Adam Warlock. You cannot keep leaving your philosophy books open on the floor. I always trip on them in the middle of the night on my way to the can.
Hello, Looney listeners. This is Ray here. Just wanting to say, look, if you like Moon Knight, I urge you to give The Fringe Knight a go. This is a self-published indie release by creator and writer Daniel Doing, and it's a ripper of a read. The Fringe Knight is an adventure comic series set in Erie, Pennsylvania, and the series stars the title character who protects his city from every threat imaginable, from radioactive wolfmen to mad scientists putting poodles in giant robots. The Fringe Knight is there to protect. Definitely worth checking out. I highly recommend it. Available, just check out the show notes in this episode, but Fringe Knight has a Facebook page as well as a Patreon page, and you can also find all the comics on indieplanet.com. So check out Fringe Knight by Daniel Doing. Alright, let's get on to the show. Yes, welcome back, Looney listeners. You are listening to Into the Night, the Moon Knight podcast, and you are with your Priest of Khonshu Rey and Justin The Owl Osgood, and we have just reviewed Moon Knight Volume 1, Issue 19, a fantastic read, Assault on Island Strange. Now, we have some feedback here, Justin. Thank you so much, Loonies. I threw this up very quickly, Justin, and I'm saying that less than 2 hours before we recorded, but managed to get some feedback here. So let's go through the feedback first on issue 19, and then we have some other feedback from previous episodes. So Justin, can I ask maybe if you read out the Twitter and the Instagram ones?
Sure.
Yeah.
So Rigel on Twitter writes, "Don't know why I love it so much, but it's got one of my favorite covers from the first volume."
Thank you, Rigel.
Sorry, Rigel, we kind of went bits with it.
Yeah, hoping we didn't dissuade you there. Look, it is a memorable cover. I've got to say that. Mooney looks good in it.
It is memorable.
Yeah, it is memorable.
Yes. Yes.
We can't fault that. No, thank you, Rigel, for dropping in that tweet. Yeah, and I think we got a couple from Instagram.
Oh, yes. I liked him better. A Werewolf by Night podcast.
Hey, big shout out to Matt and Jacob. Yes, hello, guys.
Hello there. And they write, I liked him better when he was called Speedy and shot smack.
Now, I replied to this straight away, so I'm going to read these out, guys. I don't care. Justin, maybe you can elaborate for me. Is there maybe
referring to the distinguished competitions arsenal is a different person. Yeah. Yeah. For a while I think in the 90s, Speedy turned to a much darker edge and decided to turn himself into Arsenal for a while.
Okay. Well, see, that totally makes sense now. To me, that was just a total random comment, but I'm glad that you have the knowledge there, Justin. So
I didn't know that he started having a smack habit, though. I guess I'm behind reading Speedy's latest exploits. Yes.
Speedy's other adventures.
Yeah.
But no, a big thank you, Matt and Jacob, for that comment.
And then Rafflesons. I liked Arsenal, the action, and etc., but I'm afraid it comes to the TV show or any new adaptation in comics with the plot pushing the idea of, hey, we can't label him a terrorist. He's uniting both political sides. He wanted unity. Who cares if he wanted to kill everyone in his way? He aimed unity.
Yes, thank you, Raphael. That's Raphael Looney Raff, fantastic artist in his own right. But yeah, it is an interesting concept, isn't it, Justin? The Third World Army bringing the left and the right together and wanting to destroy the world.
It would create some interesting discussion, that's for sure.
It was. I can't imagine how there would not be any infighting like at the Third World Army, uniting them together, you know. But anyway, there you go. So thank you, one and all there. Oh, no, actually, and sorry, Justin, there's one more from the Facebook page.
Yes. Oh, there we go. Dustin. Dustin Kurtz writes, I liked the part where Mooney punched the dude so hard his hat stayed in place. I love that panel, too. That was great. It's like, who? Me! And then punches him. Yeah, that's fantastic. I hope that somebody makes a meme out of those two panels someday.
That is rife for meme world.
Yeah.
Moon Knight Core, get on it.
He also writes, I think also it's funny that this terrorist org found a way to create intersectionality among radicals on the right and left, which, is a valid point. True unity in blowing shit up. Really liked the action and the dialogue. Art is really nice with some good close-up shots of Moon Knight. Would read again.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you, Dustin. And maybe there is something to Nimrod Strange, Justin. If he can unify both the left and right, maybe we're underestimating this guy. Maybe he's got something that we don't know.
He's got some charisma or something. Yeah, to be able to unite those two disparate factions. It's quite a feat.
Yeah, he's not just some idiot in a helmet.
Right. With the high-intensity headlamp.
High-intensity headlamp, just in case he needs to go mining or caving, you know. Anyway, thank you again, Loonies, for that feedback for issue 19. I was glad to hear that you guys enjoyed it. I mean, Justin and I, we loved it as well. We've also got some other feedback. So, Justin, if we scroll back to the top of Nightlines, now if we can just, I guess we'll alternate between ourselves. So on YouTube, again, I want a big call out to CMK7. Beep boop, beep boop, boop. Chris. Thank you, Chris, so much for, Chris, regularly leaves feedback. I mean, not that long after I post up the episode. So thank you so much for your dedicated listening, Chris. Anyway, he has some feedback for episode 221, which was our feedback episode on Moon Knight #1 by Jed McKay and Cappuccio. And Chris writes, great hearing all the feedback from all the Moon Knight fans out there. Glad to hear I'm in the vast majority with all the fans enjoying this exciting and well-crafted new volume. With this cracking new series launch and the upcoming Disney Plus series, it's truly a fantastic time to be a loony. Now, Justin, that kind of echoes your sentiments, I do recall, in our chat online.
I think I said almost the same words, actually. Yeah, it's amazing, really, with all this stuff. And like I said, all the merchandise that's going to be coming out. and
the undies. The undies coming out.
The undies, the socks, the onesies socks. For babies. You know?
Exactly.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. I think it's wonderful.
I love it too. And thank you, Chris, so much as well. It looks like everyone is on board with the McKay run as well. So we'll see how it pans out. But certainly a very strong start.
Mm. And then Chris also writes about episode 222, which was the spotlight on Werewolf by Night. Great chat, guys. I'm dying to know if Daniel's Werewolf by Night number 32 is still near mint. I know as a kid I treated my comics pretty poorly, completely ignorant of thinking they'd ever be worth anything, and the ones that did survive to today are in pretty rough shape, unfortunately. I also loved how Daniel phrased this about Moon Knight: a mortal man stepping into the world of the supernatural who could walk among the monsters. This defining feature really sold the character for me and captured my imagination as a young reader. That is a great line about Moon Knight.
That is a great line. No surprise that Daniel is a great writer in his own right as well, a writer and creator. Thank you, Chris. Yeah. Justin, do you have, by any chance, Werewolf by Night 32, 33?
I don't have the original copies. Mm-hmm. No, those are some of my White Whale Holy Grail ones, but I still have them in the Epic collection that I can read.
Yeah, me too.
The originals are going to be
I know.
One of those things.
Should have picked them up when I started this podcast. That would, that back in 2017, that would have been easy to get, but now it's a little bit harder. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to get even more difficult, I think, over the next.
It is. Yeah. If we bounce to Facebook now, our page, we've got an entry here from Chad, the power of Chad. And he writes, this is about Moon Knight number 1. He writes, sorry for the late entry, loonies. I love this issue. It walked us through Marc's past, but didn't patronize us about his exploits, laboring over little details. The action was fantastic, the references were nostalgic, and the new characters didn't seem out of place or shoehorned in. I absolutely live for the color of Marc's persona now. He seemed like a silver-adorned sheriff trying to keep peace in his little shaded stretch of city. I like that. With the reveal of Hunter's Moon, I'm all in for saying he's a lycanthropic moon priest. Yes, well, cover 3 kind of shows that. Maybe a cat, maybe a bat, who knows. 10 out of 10 issue, a big fuck off Hunter's Moon. And then Chad says, as always, I'll be ready to let folks know when the Comixology site uploads the new issues. Always appreciated, Chad, because loonies, we love helping each other out, so please keep at it. But thank you so much, Chad. Justin, very much in the same mindset as many of the other loonies.
I'm loving this enthusiastic reaction to the first issue. I love it.
Yeah.
Because it could have gone the other way, and we could have all been, hang our heads and be like, what are they doing? But the fact that it's almost unanimous. I haven't really heard any complaints or any major criticisms. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, and it's not like it's like, it was a decent issue. Like, people are saying this was really cool. So that's very encouraging as well. Let's see how...
People aren't saying it was just okay. That it was just average. That it was just entertaining. They're saying it was excellent. So that's... To me, that's the hallmark of a good success.
So can't wait. And yes, Chad, cover to issue 3 shows Hunter's Moon. It does show a bit of a furry hand and some claws, so it could well be a werewolf. We don't know. So the final 2 here, Justin, do you want to grab them? That's a last Instagram one, and then we have a final one from Facebook, the Facebook group.
Sure. So Jacob Balcombe writes, nice job on the recent Werewolf by Night themed episode. I really enjoyed listening. Thank you, Jacob.
Thank you, Jacob. Just a little one. I thought I'd include it there just to give Jacob a shout out. But thank you so much. Thanks for listening. Yeah. And the final one.
We have from Douglas, Jonathan Vincent.
AKA, sorry, Justin. So Douglas is also Lena. So
part
Douglas,
of the system.
Yes.
there's actually 2 reviews in one here. So, okay, I've read the new Moon Knight #1. Sorry I didn't get my feedback to you in time for the feedback episode. I really enjoyed it. I'll admit that I, Lena, am a little bit harder sell on comic book stories than Doug, or some of the others in our system that are more general superhero and sci-fi fans than I am. I personally tend to like the stories in any genre that really delve into the psyche of the characters, get into their heads, and explore what makes them tick, so to speak. And of course, I'm especially interested in stories about characters with DID. That said, spoilers from here on out, I was a little disappointed that this issue didn't really talk about the DID much. But I was fascinated to see Moon Knight's Avengers-appointed therapist and the fact that they're going to delve into the faith aspect of Moon Knight's devotion to Khonshu. The contradictions of his being the son of a rabbi, but devoted to an Egyptian god, even though he doesn't particularly like that god at the moment, are all very interesting. And of course, the additions of Hunter's Moon and whoever is intent on breaking Marc's faith made for additional interesting twists. All in all, I'm very interested to see where they go from here. Oh, and I did enjoy the action sequences as well. Lena. And now for something completely different, here's Doug's review. Vampires, C-list Spider-Man villains, a creepy Joker-esque villain hiding in the shadows, ready to ruin our hero's life. I hope Ray Pod is right that it is Arcade. He's one of my all-time favorite villains. Amazing art, and a badass doctor who also happens to be the other Fist of Khonshu. What's not to love? May Rebecca, Ray, and Connor Shue watch over the denizens of Into the Night. Doug. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Doug and Lena. Very cool. Very, I guess, differing reviews for this. Doug seems to be really all out into that kind of comic book world, and which is really fun to see and fun to hear that he's enjoying it. Lena, I know, having chatted with Lena over messages and stuff, that she's very more into the DID, which is really cool. And that was a little lacking, I guess, in issue 1 of Moon Knight. So, understandably so, that it may have been a little disappointing on that, for that side of things. But I'm sure there'll be more to it. And as Lena says, there are a lot of very other interesting aspects. The fact of the heretic, of the follower without a god, and and questioning the faith of Khonshu, that sort of stuff. So, very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think that they will talk about DID later in the series. I do. I think that it might not be like right away in the first 2 or 3 issues, but I think eventually it will be discussed, and I'm looking forward to that. It'll be great.
I tend to think even more so than that, Justin. Maybe the first, I think the first arc, because I think Jed said that he's written up to 12. So I'm assuming I'm assuming the first arc, so the first 6 issues, will be very much, what we saw in issue 1. So maybe the DID takes a back seat. But who knows? Beyond that, hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of a peek. I mean, Dr. Sturman did mention that DID can be managed, but she's really more into this whole superhuman menticide. We'll definitely see it. But thanks again also to Doug as well. I loved your review. And I'm setting myself up for a fall here, Justin, by saying Arcade. We'll see.
No.
We'll see.
I hope you're right too. I would love to see, like I said, our Moon Knight and Murder World would be a fantastic story.
That would be great. Yeah. I'll have to, I don't know, maybe I'll put up a competition or something. If I'm right, I've got to give something away. I'll give a prize. So that's it. I mean, Loonies, thank you one and all for all that feedback. It's fantastic to get that in. Again, I just wanted to celebrate the amount of Loonies out there and within our community, those that are reading the comic book, those that may be listening to the podcast. It's really great. And as you said, Justin, it's a great time to be a Looney. Same with Chris. It's a great time to be a Looney. So let's can't wait, upward and onward from here.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to get bigger and better from here on out.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for the future of our dear Fist of Khonshu.
Yeah, absolutely. And that rounds out our episode, Justin. We just wanted to thank you once again for being such a fantastic person to have a good old chat with and going through a comic. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I had a great time. It was great to revisit this issue that I haven't read in a few years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to have to set you up for issue 20, but also those other bonus issues that we were talking about. No reveals yet, Loonies, but I'd love to get you behind the mic again, Justin, and have a good old chat about those.
Yeah, we'll have to schedule that next time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. Hopefully we'll make it work. I'll make sure that we can fit it in. Next phase, Loonies, another couple of episodes will come your way. I'll try to get the discussion thread out a bit earlier, and I'll let you know what issue we're going to be reviewing. But it's going to be a waxing crescent, so that means it's a LUNAR-PICK again, but a modern run review. The issue has not been confirmed yet, but once I do, I'll put it up there so we can gather your thoughts as well. Always good to hear. And hopefully a special guest co-host. Haven't confirmed it yet, but it's another Aussie, Andrew Shaw. He is an indie comic book writer, and he's a huge Moon Knight fan as well. So, of those that may have listened, those who may have listened to Werewolf by Night, the podcast, Andrew and I both jumped on to talk about, Moon Knight's appearance in Werewolf by Night. So, top bloke. He's got some comics out there, well worth it, and hopefully I can grab him for the show. But keep your eyes peeled on social media, and I'll confirm that. Finally as well, patreon.com/ITK Moon Knight, plenty of incentives there. Please go check it out. Consider being a member. Even just your support by listening is greatly appreciated. If you can share, let others know about the podcast, that's also great as well. Sponsored by Hello Headphones. Now, earlier I mentioned, but if you use the code ITK Moon Knight, you'll get 10% off their online store. Go get yourself some nice headphones so you can listen to Justin's dulcet tones in all its glory. Also, Dreamland Comics. If you use the code MOON, you can get 20% off their online store, so pick yourself up issue 19. First appearance of Arsenal. It's going to be hot, I tell you. Wouldn't that be interesting? I'm just thinking, Justin, wouldn't that be so cool if he does turn up in Moon Knight's Moon Knight's TV show? I would just lose.
At least in the second season, maybe, if not the first season. Maybe they'll have some tangential references to him in the first season to set him up for the second one. Yeah,
that'll be great. And I'd love to see, if they do, for them to misname him again and call him Hugo Strange.
I know. Have somebody slip up and be like, I mean Nimrod. Yeah, Nimrod. Yeah.
We're also members of affiliate members of Entertainment Earth, so your action figure needs, go check them out. Anything that you buy off our link from the show notes will help us as well. And finally, we are part of the collective fantastic repository of shows. There are a fair few new ones as well. So I want to shout out Dread or Dead. It's a Judge Dredd podcast hosted by David Finn from Signal of Doom. Yeah, he's a big Dredd fan. And also, I've got to shout out again, Inner Demons, a Ghost Rider podcast. I love that show, and Brian Biggie doing great work over there. So big props to Brian, the big man Biggie. Finally, you can contact us, email at itkmoonnight@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Discord, Get Vocal. We're also on Podchaser, which incidentally, if you can leave a rating there, or Apple Podcasts, would really love. Haven't had a rating in a while. It would be good. I mean, just to cast our net further, so hopefully other loonies out there can find the show. That about wraps it up, I guess. Justin, again, it's pretty late over there. I was about to say, what do you have planned over the next coming few days?
I'll be doing some more reading, actually. I'm working with our friend Russell on a special project, which we're kind of keeping as a surprise right now, but I'm doing some reading in preparation for that. So yeah, it'll be good. I'll have a good week of reading and unpacking and getting settled into the new place. So it's going to be very good.
Awesome. And I forgot to ask as well, any shout outs. If you wanted to shout out anything, or that sounds still pretty under wraps though. That project with Russell.
I'm going to let him make that announcement for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we are going to be. I will reveal we're going to be discussing a Moon Knight villain though.
Oh, Arsenal. Jumped on that one. That'd be good. Ask Russell if you can.
That would be, that would be good. We'll have to do two different ones though, where there's two different Arsenals.
Yeah, the better one and the not so good one. Well, righty. Well, then, sorry. Any other things? Sorry, I interrupted you there.
No, that's okay.
That was it.
Yeah, that was all.
Okay, cool. Well, having said that, listeners, may Khonshu watch over the denizens of the night. We'll catch you around next time.
See you, everyone.
Moon Knight and affiliated characters, stories and events are properties of Marvel Characters Incorporated. Materials used and discussed within the podcast are intended for critique and review purposes only under the fair dealing concept of the current Copyright Act. The views, information or opinions expressed during the podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of the copyright owners.